Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the show where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. I'm your host, Parker Layrisson, and today I've got a fantastic guest. She is a business leader, a community leader, and somebody that's just a lot of fun to talk to. Of course, she's a super mom, a do it all, Wonder Woman type of person, but someone who will bring a smile to your face and leave you feeling like you got a warmer heart when you leave than when she got there. And so I am, with no further ado, talking about Martha Ray with the First Bank.
Yes.
Martha, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thank
I
you for being here. I
appreciate
know
it.
you're very busy between work and family and being president of the Kiwanis Club, and I'm going to ask you about all of that
Yeah.
individually.
Okay.
But before I do, why don't we kick things off? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Martha Ray. I'm from the West Bank, the best bank. That's what they call it. From West we go. I graduated from L.W. Higgins High School. I have five beautiful babies, two
Wow.
boys, three girls. My oldest son is in the military. He just got in from Bulgaria. Got back from Bulgaria. I have a daughter that's in college and three that's in school here in Ponchatoula. I met my lovely husband, Joe Ray. We've been married for 16 years, and we are actually about to make our anniversary, July 14th.
That's
So,
exciting. I hope he's
yeah,
starting to make plans because if you're raising
I am.
five children, he better take care of you. I mean,
That's
it's time.
right.
Yeah, he better treat you.
Yes,
So,
yes, sir.
first, before we go farther, thank you for the service you provide as a military mom,
Oh, you're
because we
welcome.
always thank our veterans for their service, and of course, that's
Yes,
critical. But nobody's doing more worrying than the mama,
yes.
including the soldier, typically, right?
Thank
So,
you.
thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank
What's
you.
it like with five kids? I think you said two boys, three girls. I grew up
Yeah.
in a house of four boys, and that was wild. Never had the girl experience. I'm raising two boys now, so it's foreign to me. But what's it like with kind of a mixed set like that? I feel like you're sitting there with a full house of sort, a pair and
Yes.
three. What's that experience like for you?
So the experience is difficult. Let me tell you, I have five different personalities in my home.
Right.
And especially starting off with a boy and then having a girl after that, you're like, okay, you got your mix. Well, then here comes another girl, then a boy, then a girl. And my age gap is there. My oldest is
Right.
23, my youngest is 7. So yeah, it's chaotic,
We can
but they
relate. We
keep
have
me
an
going.
18-year gap from top to bottom, so I
Oh
know you
wow.
deal with a lot.
So yeah, it's a lot. It challenges you every day, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't think it do, but it does. But I tell a lot of people having multiple kids, they keep you young and they keep you going. So I
Mhm.
think that's where all this energy comes from because I have to stay with the kids.
Right, right.
So yeah,
That's great.
I like it. Yes.
Well, I love how you talk about the balance and you start off with a boy,
Yes.
a girl. It brings
Yes.
back to my childhood the balance of the Force in Star Wars. And it's
Yeah.
like, you got Master Yoda on one side and Darth Vader on the other.
Yeah.
If you get too much imbalance, we all know what the Death
Yes.
Star can do.
Yes.
Well, let's flash back, if you will, to the
Okay.
time when you were a little kid like them. I mean, you mentioned you're from the West Bank, from
Yes.
West Wego. You went to Higgins. What was life like there? Because that's night and day. That's just, right there on the edge of New Orleans. Heck,
Yes.
part of the city of New Orleans is on the West Bank. Not everybody knows
Right.
about Algiers. It's kind of a hidden gem over there. But what was life like there? Presumably, kind of as a city girl to now being a
A
country
country
mom
girl?
in a small, not a country girl, but you're in a country town now. You were
Yeah.
in a town of 7,000 people as
Right.
opposed to this major metropolis you grew up in. What do you remember about your childhood fondly, and what were the big differences between then and the experience your kids have now up here?
So coming up, I'm the baby of five also.
Uh,
So being the baby of five, I actually didn't have to do a lot. I'm gonna just say, but my brothers, they took care of me wonderfully. My mom and dad. My mom worked. My dad played music. He is from New Orleans. My mom is from Mississippi, but they met and then they moved to New Orleans. So my mom was a chef for over 40 something years, and she did a lot. So I was mostly raised by my brothers,
mhm.
and they taught me how to navigate through life. And I had always said, if I have kids, this is how I want my kids to be. So my childhood was very fun,
Mhm.
outgoing. It's very different than what it is now. So, in me trying to raise my kids to this generation now to what how I was raised, it's a challenge, but we make it through. So we
Right.
balance it out. But it's so hard because things have changed since I was
Yeah.
born.
Well, you're
Um,
right. It is tough, but you
hmm
make it through. You find
yeah.
balance. How do y'all do that? What are the skills you have to put in play to find that
To
balance and get through this modern thing
stay
we're in?
busy,
Yeah.
stay busy, and stay up to date with the years that come and with this new millenniums and millennials and they everything, But I try to stay out like with the community.
Right.
I try to get my kids out with the community. And yes, it was a big difference from the West Bank to coming up here.
Hmm.
I did the city life all my life. So, I was like, I'm done with the city. I want to go to a small area. I'm so happy I did meet my husband. I'm glad he stayed up here. He wanted to move to the city. And I'm like, oh
Oh,
no.
really?
Yeah, he wants to get out of country life and go to the
Yeah.
city. I want to get out of the city life and come to the country. It's peaceful. It really is
Yeah.
very peaceful. And
You're right.
raising my kids up here actually has been the best thing that has came out of it because now, today with everything going on, it's very
Mhm.
hard to raise your kids right now in this environment they got going on.
Absolutely.
And that's everywhere. I'm not just saying it's,
No,
it's everywhere.
you're right. It gets tougher every year. My older
Yes.
son is 8, and it's tougher today than it
Hmm.
was in 2016 when he
Right.
was born. And we can
Hmm.
all see the trend. 8 years from now, it'll be that much tougher.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so, it sounds like you are very community oriented. Of course,
Yes.
that's how I met you. You were serving the community as
Yeah.
president of the Kiwanis Club. And when I asked you about raising your children and part of how y'all do that, it's getting out in the community. Where does
Yes.
that come from? I mean, you mentioned that your parents are out in the community,
Hmm.
making music and all
Yes.
this. How did you get that drive? Where does it come from?
It all came from my dad, to be honest with
Mhm.
you. My dad is the one that he loved everyone. My mom did too. She dealt with a lot of people in the catering industry. She was a chef at the Magnolia Plantation for a long time.
Mhm.
And just dealing with people. And my parents never stood shy of introducing us to different people, different walks of life, and things like that. So, with my dad and my mom being the type of parents they were, that just trickled down on me. And I am that bubbly, you know. Hey, I love the people. I love the crowd. I can mingle with any and everybody, and I will be absolutely okay.
Yeah. Well, when you tell your story growing up in New Orleans, kind of
Hmm.
again, I got a 6-year-old, I got an 8-year-old. It's like
Yep.
Disney on the brain all the time. But I'm getting a
Yeah.
very Princess and the Frog vibe here. We got a chef, we got a
Yeah.
musician, we got the muddy Mississippi running through there. It's yeah, you've got
Yeah.
my imagination in overdrive right now.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great way to grow up. Well, you know, I love how you give credit to your brothers and how they
Hmm.
really took care of you while your parents are out there working and serving the community. Um, but it kind of dawns on me that I mean, clearly a musician is very much an artist, but a
Hmm.
chef is too. I mean, that's a creative endeavor. You share
Right.
a different kind of local flavor.
Right.
Um, did you view it like that growing up? I mean, talk to me about how their professions impacted you. Now, you went into banking, something very important but very different. But what was
Right.
that like? Did you feel like you were being raised by two artists? Because when you think about New Orleans, we are famous worldwide.
Hmm.
Two things that your parents do. I mean, that's why we're
Right.
just even as many things go wrong with our local economy in the Big Easy, the food and the music keep people coming from around the world.
Right.
So growing up, was that just normal to you and you didn't give it a thought, or was it something you were aware that kind of like my parents are part of the big draw of what makes this place special and gets people coming?
It mainly came from my parents. And looking back at them, and I do have an older sister also
Hmm.
that did work with my mom. So I also followed in her footsteps. And she's out like she's a caterer now. She followed in my mom's footsteps. My dad wanted me to play music. No, my brothers play music. I did. I tried it. I'm not gonna tell you I didn't, but it was just the meeting the different people. I think that
Sure.
really what brought me into okay, people, and say
Yeah.
it's not the same as it is now in 2024 the
Right.
way it was when I was coming up, and but it just being around a lot of people. I have met a lot of famous people, famous singers, famous people who came in at they knew someone that was getting married where my
Yeah.
mom worked at. So being introduced to it at an early age really
Right.
helps out. But my siblings really had a lot to do with it,
Yeah.
and everybody did something different,
Hmm.
and it just that's I think that's what just trickled on me.
Now
I,
you
I got
mentioned. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
That's
Martha.
okay.
Please
No,
finish.
go ahead.
No, you. This is your show. Go finish what you got to
No,
say.
I was
I'm
just saying
sorry.
it's just when you're introduced to people like that, I
Uh-huh.
think that's what brings out the how could I put this in good words as far as it opens you up to accept people. Some
Right.
people, if you look at it, I'm gonna use the kids today. A lot of them don't get introduced to people, and a lot of them
Yeah.
don't take out the time to get to know people. And then it turns out to be, oh, they don't like people, they don't like to be around people. But when you
Right.
are brought around people and introduced to people at a young age, I think that's what brings that level of okay, let me get out here and let me get to know people and let me surround
Yeah.
myself with people. So
But
that's what I like.
it makes it so tough to thrive in the
Hmm.
adult world if you don't have that foundation. Because
Right.
for you, as a personal banker at a successful bank like the First, you can only do that if your people skills are up here,
Yes.
right? I mean, so you might have developed them, watching your mom cater weddings,
Right.
watching
Yep.
your dad play music,
Yes.
but those skills are transferable.
Yes.
I do want to ask one quick question before we move in on off
Mhm.
that topic. What was your favorite thing your mom cooked? Or what, do you think of first when I ask about her cooking? That's part one of the question. And part two is, can your sister cook it as well as mom, or is she off on a different track?
Okay, I'm gonna expose us a little bit here. So my mom's favorite, what I love that my mama cooked was everything. I didn't turn anything down. Sweet potato pies is my all-time
Oh
favorite.
yeah,
My sister can cook just like my mom. Everybody can cook like my mom except for me and my brother that's before me. I'm sorry. I know everybody like, what?
yeah.
No, I cannot. I can barely boil a pot of water, okay?
Well, we know your husband married you for love. Here you are, 5 kids
Yes.
later, and it's not the cooking, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
it's definitely not the cooking.
Let me bring up our mutual friend, a guy that I know since high school. We're
Ah, look
talking
at
about the good old
Pete.
days. Pete Clark. Hey, Pete, thank you
Hey,
for watching
Pete.
the show. Folks, if you know Pete Clark, of course, he's a well known local Allstate agent, a very successful entrepreneur in his own right. But he's done this show before. He's had an interview. If my producers are
Yeah.
listening, they may be able to put a link to his interview in the quotes. But I want to thank Pete for tuning in, and I want to thank all of our people that are watching live,
Yeah.
and let you know that if you want to comment, if you want to ask Martha a question, or just say something nice, as her friend Pete has here, or my friend Pete has,
Yeah.
feel free to do so because we have that ability while we're talking live. Um, yeah, Pete is a guy like you who brings an energy and enthusiasm to life
Yeah.
that I really admire. Um, I know you guys have the Kiwanis Club doing well. I'm going to ask you about your
Yes.
club in a little bit.
Yes.
But while we're talking about the transition from childhood roots in the kitchen with mom, with music with dad, home with your brothers, and how that drives you to raise the family you have now. What I want to ask before we move on from that topic is, what are some life lessons you brought out of that house? Because when I see you and we meet in a place like the Kiwanis Hut,
Hmm.
when you're feeding the old people and the council on elders or elderly, whatever it's called, and we're bringing Thanksgiving meals through your Kiwanis Club, my Rotary
Hmm.
Club, to the elderly, and I see that's one of many many projects you do. I see someone with a giver's heart, a servant's mentality, and I'm sure that came from the home to some degree. So when you think back to childhood, be it your brother, your parents, whoever, what are some life lessons you brought our way from Gretna and the great childhood you clearly had?
Um, the life lesson that I brought in was it's all about respect. My dad raised his his brother and his sister. My mom had to raise her mom and her dad. So seeing how my parents did that had, that really was impacting on me. My mom had me at a late age. So with me, by her having me at a late age, it made me look at things like one day you're going to be in these shoes too, and you're going to have to raise your parents. That saying that they're your parents, and then you turn up being the parent eventually to, your parent being a child to you. And that's what it was. When my mom and dad got sick, I had to come home. Well, let me back up just a little bit. My
Yeah.
mom, she didn't tell us she had pancreatic cancer.
Oh no.
So I was pregnant with my son, and my husband was in the military. We were stationed in Colorado, and she came to help, but she got sick, so she had to fly home like the same day that I had my baby. And she didn't tell us then what was going on, and then she waited till I got back, well, when she got back, and then she told me about it. So that's when I was like, okay. So it was one of them. I sort of dropped everything to go take care of my
Yeah.
mom. Well,
Wow.
then my dad wound up
With the
having
newborn, I mean
with
that
the
has to be
newborn.
tough.
Yes.
You got
Yes.
all the changes
Yeah.
and challenges that come with that.
Right, and it was a
Yeah.
back and forth thing from Colorado to Louisiana to make sure she's good, but she didn't want us to worry, and that's how I look at things. You don't want people to worry. You don't know who's having a bad day. So if you
Great
are
point.
positive and someone is having a bad day, long as you're positive and you can throw your positivity to someone, that makes them feel better. I mean, even with my dad, my dad passed away from colon cancer. Unfortunately, I left my family in Korea. We were stationed in Korea, and I came home to take care of my dad. It's just my family takes care of everyone, and that's how I was raised. So that's how I am. So when I see elderly and people who need help, I try my best of what
Yeah.
I can to help people. It's you when you're blessed. I just put it like that. It's a
Well put.
blessing.
Well put.
Yes.
And what a beautiful example for you to
Yeah.
set for your own children, for them to
Yeah.
see you. And it all worked out, right? Y'all
Yes.
all made it back
Yeah.
safely from
Yeah.
Korea.
Yeah. They
Your
finally
husband
made
probably
it.
had to step up a little extra. It was tense. It
He
was tough,
did. He
but they
did.
got to see how a family could
Yeah.
and should operate during tough times.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that with
Oh,
you.
you welcome.
Um,
Anytime.
let's talk
Anytime.
about how you got from here to there. I think you just revealed part of the
Yeah.
story. In the meantime, you went around the world, with the
I
military,
did. I
but you
did.
meet
I
this man, you
did.
fall in love. Tell us
Yeah.
about the great places you went and how you wound up in Ponchatoula.
Okay. Well, I when I met my husband, he stayed up here, so we got married and everything, and it was, hey, I'm joining the military. I was like, okay. Well, he came back. His first duty station, we went to Colorado. We was there for 2 years, Colorado Springs. Our second duty station was Oklahoma. We went there, didn't like it.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet after beautiful. I mean, Colorado is one of the most beautiful states in the
Thank
country.
you.
No offense to
Thank you.
Oklahoma, but that's flyover territory. It has to be
Exactly.
rough. Yeah.
And then from Oklahoma, we went to Korea, South Korea. We
Wait,
didn't think we
Parker,
was
can I
gonna be
just
able to
add
go.
one thing?
Uh-huh.
Oklahoma's tough because that's where the Americans gave the Indians, right? It's like they took them out of all the beautiful mountain-laden
I
Virginia and
know.
Carolina.
I
So,
met some Indians too. That was the
yeah, I'm
funny part.
sorry to interrupt your story, but the poor
That's
Native
okay.
Americans need some respect. They
Yes.
got some bad property.
Oh
But
yeah,
one
yeah.
other thing, real quick, before you finish your story. Speaking of property, our new mayor Wesley Daniels is chiming in to say
Yay,
hello.
Wesley.
The great realtor who helped me, his office through his colleague Sharon Carter got me this house that I'm in, and Wesley did the deal on the office that you're in.
Yeah. Look
Wesley,
at
you're going to do a
that.
great job as mayor. We're really looking forward to it. Excited about your
Yeah.
administration. So thank you for chiming in for your fellow Kawani and Martha.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Martha, thank you for your patience with
Oh,
me. Please
anytime.
continue
Look,
the
I'm
story.
here.
You go from Colorado
So
to
Colorado, Oklahoma to South Korea, and
mhm,
then when he got out of the military, we came back to Ponchatoula. Against my wishes, I didn't want to come back because I was like, "Hey, let's still go travel," but we had to come home, and we did.
yeah,
And I don't regret no part of it. Now, I still fuss about it because I still wanted him to stay in, but I'm glad we came back because then that opened up me of coming to work at the first.
Right.
As soon as we came back, I got a job at the first, like within a month of us being back here. I
So
had worked at other
when
banks,
about was that? You might not know the exact year, but how long ago was it you got back here and went to work there
and
first?
we came back in 2016.
Okay.
And
Okay. Wow.
so in 2016, I applied for the job in December, and like within 2 weeks, I had it. So I worked in January, and then I found out I was pregnant.
Ooh, wow. Wait.
Yeah, within
Big year
like
for my
the
family too.
first,
I became a father that year. My wife was pregnant. 2016 was we crossed the Rubicon. There's no going back.
yeah.
Well,
So I,
it's a great bank. Let me give a plug to the first because
yeah,
you and your colleagues take great care of me. From
thank
folks
you.
that have been there forever, like Brenda
Yes,
Wolf
yes,
and
that's my
Melissa
girl.
Day, to folks
Yeah,
that have come more recently, like you in 16 and Miss Naomi and all
yeah.
the people at the Ponchatoula branch. There's too many to name, but
Oh yeah,
it's a great bank. And for those that knew it as Florida Parishes to the first now,
yeah,
and I think the magic of your institution is the people.
yes,
I don't know much about banking, or I would imagine the interest rates the same across the street. But you and these other folks I've named are just so upbeat. Mark
yes,
Mobley,
yeah,
just wonderful folks. A lot of Kiwanians I'm noticing
yeah,
there. Um,
yes, yes.
my speaking of great people, I've seen a few other comments coming in from people I know to be friends of mine, and I'm sure friends of yours too. Belinda Vining says,
Yeah.
"Hey,
Hey,
Belinda.
Belinda.
Belinda, I want to thank you for your patience. I had to say hello and goodbye so quickly the other night when I saw you at my brother's victory party. They were grabbing our family for a picture. I didn't get a chance to visit with you occasionally that long, but thank y'all for coming. You're so wonderful. And interviews, her beautiful daughter, talented actress that she is,
Yep.
has done an interview on our program. So check that out. And
Yes.
another great interview is Don Chasson.
Hey,
Hey,
yep.
hey,
That's
Dawn.
another fellow Kiwanian.
Yeah, yeah. Kiwanis is representing here tonight. And like
Hey.
you and Keisha and Pete, she did a great interview here where we talked
Mm-hmm.
about her business. Full of
Yay.
title. They do great work right up the street from my office. So thank you all for
Yes.
chiming in. Anybody else who's watching, as I stated earlier, feel free to comment. We're here with
Yes.
Martha Ray of the First Bank. She's sharing her wonderful life story, and we
Yes.
just got to the point where she got to town after kind of a around the world trip.
Yes.
And so she's
Yes.
settled in Ponchatoula, pregnant again, 2016.
Yes.
How's this family grow? Because it sounds like you had a family going. You go through really tough times losing your parents. You step up for
Yes.
that, and I would guess even though it's fun and exciting to be in Korea and Colorado and all the places in between, there's still a lot of element of hardship to the
Yes.
moving process, the military bride
Mm-hmm.
thing, all that. Does life just kind of change forever when you hit here? Is it like home and stability, or
Yeah.
what was Ponchatoula like when you got here in 16 and got kind of a regular day job and
Yes.
what was it like for you?
Ponchatoula was quiet. It's a lot of people that moved here now. When we moved here, it was like, oh, cool. I like this. I was like, ooh, tight community. They tight knit. Everybody stick together. Yes, they still do that now. Now, don't get me wrong. They still do that now. But I had to learn a lot because being from the city, so everything was fast paced. A lot of things up here it's very slow than it is in New Orleans. A lot of people don't think there's a difference, but it is.
Yeah.
You go to New Orleans, they moving a mile a minute. Up
You
here, it's
have to
like,
slow
yeah,
down how you talk. It's like, wait, stop,
exactly.
pause, you know.
And I catch myself doing that. Even at our meetings, I'll be talking fast, and I see everybody looking like, What is she talking about? Wait, back up, slow up." And that's I'm sorry, that's just the city part of
No,
me.
hey, you
Um,
being you, it takes all kinds. And part of the beauty of this town is there are folks like Mayor Daniels, who was just
yes,
commenting. His family moved down from Michigan with mine in the 1800s. They've been here
right,
forever. But the beauty is we're working side by side with folks like you that are making it better. Because
yeah,
let's face it, if we just had the old original five families of Ponchatoula, well, let me say the originals, that would be a couple of Choctaws.
yeah,
But the early five families, this place wouldn't be thriving like it is. There would be
Right,
no
right,
First Bank. There would be no Parker
right.
Layrisson Law Firm,
You're
or the
right.
opportunities that come. So I love that you bring a little city to the Kiwanis Club.
Yeah,
I
I
know Pete does
try.
too. He's commenting again on how
Represent
y'all
Ponchatoula,
represent.
Kiwanis.
Yeah, another
Yes.
great Kiwanis Club member here, Kevin
Yeah,
Rayford, our
Kevin
assessor.
Rayford, yes.
Hey, Kevin and Karen, hope y'all are doing well.
But the best person, especially when I moved up here, because I worked at almost all of the locations of the,
Uh-huh.
well, was Florida Parish is now the first. I started off at the Hammond East location, and then I worked at the main bank. And going from just them two places in Hammond, I met a lot of people. But see, when I got to Ponchatoula, and let me tell you, Brian Staub is the one. He
That's
gets
my
the
guy.
crown here, you know.
Yeah,
That is the person who really got me into Kiwanis,
yeah.
got me into helping out a lot. Because I didn't know
Oh,
anything about Kiwanis. I never did look into Kiwanis when I was in the
yeah,
city. It didn't even cross my mind. Um, Working in Ponchatoula, and that's how I met all you guys. Actually,
yeah,
that's how I first encountered everybody. Wesley, you, everybody. It was because of Brian. Like I tip my hat to him, and I praise him every time I see him. But he was over the poinsettias,
yeah.
and he said,
Great
"You got that
project.
energy and that drive, and I think you can help me." And I said, "You think so?" He said, "Yeah, I got confidence in you." And I would help him sell them plants, and they'd be flying out the door. He said, "I'm gonna put you in Kiwanis." I'm like, "No, you're not. I don't know how to do. What is Kiwanis?" And so he
Yeah,
said, "I want you to come to a couple of meetings." And when I walked in the door, it's like I knew everybody in there. This is the place
right.
for me. So that's
Yeah.
why I got into Kiwanis, because of the community and the tight knit of everybody and how everybody got along. There was, they had that energy like I have.
It's a wonderful organization once you know it,
Yes,
as you do
yes,
now. But I would imagine you come from the city, you never heard of it. It's a weird sounding word, frankly,
yes,
right? And you're like, what is this? Is this a,
yes,
and so it's cool to see some familiar faces when you get there.
yes,
Um,
yes.
Dawn makes a good point. You're not only in, you're
Mhm.
the
She's our
president.
president.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
You are the
thank
president.
you.
And
Yes.
I had seen, and let me say this, I've been affiliated in small ways with the Kiwanis
Hmm.
Club for many years. Once upon a time I
Yeah.
was a Key Club president, as Kevin Rafer was, and
Hmm.
Wesley and Kevin
And
and
Pete and
Verona,
all
all
of
these
them.
guys
Yep.
that have been commenting on your show were schoolmates of mine, and we were in
Yeah.
the club together. So I kind of fell in love with it right away. Now my mom was the first female president of the Rotary Club. So when I moved back
Okay.
to town, joining my buddies at Kiwanis was not an option. That only Bree in my family was brave enough to do that because he carries a gun to work. But I was way too scared of Mama. But
Yeah.
having seen my brother Bree and so many friends like Kevin be president, and Kevin's been president of like multiple clubs. He's been up north
Hmm.
at A-Meet and all that. It's a great club. Tell me what drove you to become a leader in Kiwanis. So you joined this club. It's clearly a lot of friends. It's good cause. But man, Kiwanis president, it's a tall task. There's a lot of work that
Yes.
goes into it. From the things we see, like the Strawberry Festival, the Strawberry Poster, which I'm going to
Yes.
ask you about in a bit, to the behind the scenes, going up to
Yes.
that. I mean, I lived for 20 years a block away from the cabin, and I see the presidents up there at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning to
Yeah.
open up for whatever.
Yes.
What kind of my question, I guess, what possessed you to do that?
Well, the way it is, when I joined, um, what's his name? Sham was the president, and then Chelsea, and
Sean
then Mr.
Singh, right?
Danny. Yeah, Sean Singh. He was
Sean
the
was on the
president
show
when I
too. He's done
joined.
an interview. Check it out. So
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm gonna have to look at all of these.
Yeah.
And it was just they asked, and I think when I joined, it was at the time not knocking none of my peoples, but it was they needed that upgoing, that springy. Let's get somebody that has a lot of motivation in.
A little too laid
Um,
back, maybe.
yeah, it was just a that fine line they do. So it was one of them. Let's get these people up, and they asked, and I told them I think I'm gonna be up for the challenge, and let's try this. And I'm glad I did because it gave me the experience to see what it's like to be a leader in something. I have always wanted to be a leader in a lot of things, and especially dealing with the community. And also, it goes to show my talent and how to bring people together. Me and Pete, we're like one and the same. As he's the male version, I'm the female version. So I do, lean on Pete for a lot of
Yeah.
advice and things because I don't know anyone up here. I was not born and raised up here. So, when you
Right.
know
Right.
people and you know people who know people who know people, it helps you
Sure.
out. So I
Absolutely.
did, I asked people, I was like, you think I'm making a crazy idea to say I want to be a president? And it was like, no, you're not, go ahead and do it. And he was my biggest supporter and motivator, him and
Yeah.
Brian Stott before Brian got out and
That's cool.
retired.
Yeah.
That was my biggest, and they
Well,
was like, oh, you're gonna do a good job and you're gonna bring
yeah.
that energy. So that's why I know every time I mention something, they looking at me like, nah, we're not about to do this. No, we're
Well,
not about to do this.
they know you, so they know what you're capable of,
Yes,
but they also know the club. And Pete, you've got
yes,
at least a 30-year track record with the club.
yes.
Maybe not as a member, but as a key clubber. He was probably the first great president of the Ponchatoula Key Club to
Hmm.
win all the awards and set the tone so that guys like Kevin and I could prosper later. Um, and Brian's been around. Heck, he's probably a member
Yes.
40 years. I mean,
He's been,
when we
yes.
were
I
little
think
key
he's been
clubbers, he was
president
in the
twice.
club. Yeah,
Yeah.
twice now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's been president twice.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, great folks. Belinda's commenting here. Kiwanis is the
this is the
best.
best. Yes.
She would know. And the Kiwanis Club of Ponchatoula, particularly. I think I may
Yes.
have missed a comment here from Brittany
We love.
Alford, who says that she loves you.
Hey, love you too.
So Lulu, do you go by Lulu, Martha,
Yes,
either
that's my
or? What do you
nickname.
prefer? Okay.
My nickname is Lulu. You can call me either or. I prefer a lot of people call me Lulu because,
Yeah.
Martha is, yeah, it's a little old, but I
Hey,
take it. I
Martha's
do it
cool, man.
all.
Martha's in the Bible. That's a big
Yes,
role in the Bible. You teach
yes.
kids lessons. You got to go with that Martha story
Right.
from time to
Yes. And
time.
that's what I tell a lot of people, but everybody calls me Lulu.
Yeah,
Half of the time I forget my first, I don't forget, but I don't hear Martha enough to where it's like, oh, you talking to me?
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
so used to the nickname. So I stick with the nickname, but I take either or. It don't matter.
yeah. But Martha, look, it's old school, but it's a cool. Some of my favorite
Yes.
people are Marthas. Martha Lesher, I love you. It's great folks. Um,
Yes.
and when it came time the only two times I've contributed to picking names, I went to the same place your parents did, the Bible.
Yes. Yes.
Luke and James, straight
The
out of
good
there.
names come out of the Bible. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
saying. I'm just saying.
absolutely, absolutely. And they're easy to spell because you've been reading them your whole life,
That's
right?
right.
So, I mean,
That's
some
right. Yes,
Old Testament
sir.
will trip you up.
Oh
Um,
no, you're good.
so let's talk about your profession, okay?
Okay.
Banking. You do so well with that. You bank. I mean, from people you mentioned, Brian Staub and Chad Richard, and I can't remember if Brenda came right away or a little later. They were like the OGs of Ponchatoula the first. Then it was Florida
Yes.
Parishes. But
Yes.
I remember once upon a time, my office was right up the block from Wesley's, and
Uh-huh.
across the street from us, which now is especially for you florists, was the bank. It was a temporary office block
Yes.
we're building, but it was Staub and Chad Richard.
Yep.
Eventually, Brenda came on not that long after, I think. Um, Great institution, respected. You
Thank
guys
you.
have a staff that from top to bottom.
Thank you.
My industry has kind of quirky, banking needs because we have to deal with third party funds and trust
Yeah.
accounts and all this gnarly stuff that confuses a poli sci grad like
Hmm.
me. But y'all do it so well there. Kind of, I guess my question is, and this is both for you and the institution of the first
Hmm.
team, what's the secret sauce? How are y'all doing so well? Because it's one of the most competitive things out there. There's a bank on every corner,
Yes.
from big giant guys like Citibank and all these guys
Yeah.
on TV. So, not many local banks left anymore, but what's the secret to your success?
The secret is local, as
Mhm.
you say it's local and community. You come into the first, and that's any one of our locations. They are close knit, and we are a community. They still kept it small, even though the first brought Florida parishes out, and I can go back from when it was Florida parishes. When I joined, it was a tight knit community. And now with the first taking over, we still kept it that way. And that's what I enjoy about it. And I think that's what makes still bring people in and how we keep people. Not saying that everybody else is not the same, because I have
Yeah,
heard First Guarantee has been here probably just as long as Florida Parishes.
yeah,
Well, the first now. But it's the community and it's the close knit of
yeah,
everything. And I think that's what is making this successful, and it's still thriving.
yeah.
It's just the tight knit of everyone.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's the vibe I get when I
Hmm.
when I enter the bank. And again, not just with Brian, who I knew my whole life.
Mhm.
I used to go down the river with as a kid and all that. And Chad Richard, who was one of my best
Mhm.
friends my whole life, but to everybody, new people that
Yeah.
I haven't met come in, maybe from Gretna, wherever,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
the same kind of local vibe. And that's important. I see that in my law firm.
Mhm.
People don't always want to deal with some dude they just see on a billboard or a TV
Right. Right.
commercial. They want a human that lives in their community and will be rooting for, Alan Graves in the state championship
Yeah.
PHS Green Wave with them on Friday nights, as opposed to in some, skyscraper far away. Um,
Right.
Let me ask you this. I always love to ask folks like you that have been so successful. And for you, that success is professionally,
Mhm.
personally with your family, and as a community leader. But when you think about your success and, all the things, that go into that, what advice would you give to someone young? If, a young woman, 20 years old comes into the bank one day and says, Miss Martha or Miss Lulu,
Yeah.
I just think you're the best. How can I be you one day? What comes to mind? What would you share with that young woman?
I would share with that young woman to sit down, um, and think about what do you first what would you want out of life. You want to be like me and outgoing. You just get out in your community. Believe it or not, I stress community because that's how you get to meet everyone. That's how you get to know a lot of people. And just put yourself out there. You never know what talent you have. Everyone has a talent. My talent is getting along well with a lot of people, regardless of age, race, whatever. I am just a get out person, and I'm always happy. I have a lot of things that bother me, but I'm always, everybody see me, I'm always smiling. Keep a
Yeah, you don't
smile on
let it
your face.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't let what's bothering you affect your day-to-day living. Just like I tell my coworkers at work, whatever problems I have at home, I leave that at the door before I walk in my job.
yeah,
I let that stay out there. And I'm a walking with a smile, regardless of what's going on. And the same thing at work. When I leave work and I go home, work stays at work, and home is home. But I keep a smile on my face. You have to keep
yeah.
smiling. If you don't keep smiling, you'll never get nowhere. It's just you just gotta have that drive and that push. And a lot of people don't have that. But when they get it and they just smile, it takes a smile,
Yeah.
and you'd be amazed what a smile can do for you. Believe it or not.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because at my firm, we literally have it written into the manual. And
Hmm.
not just when we see people, our phone etiquette requires
Yeah.
smile. And I've read there's studies that people they can't
Yeah.
tell, like, oh, I can hear you smiling, but something deep in the science of another human can tell. It's like the voice is sweeter with a smile on
Right.
your
Yes.
face, whether
Yes.
you can see the smile or not. But when you see the smile, it's so welcoming. And I love how you compartmentalize because life's going to get tough. I
Yes.
mean, just getting my kids to school on a Monday morning can be such a challenge sometimes. And if I
Yes.
let that carry into the office, it will create a vicious cycle. And
Yes.
you can
It
break
does.
that up.
Yes, it's a snowball effect, and
Yeah,
I tell a lot of people. I even tell my kids that school is going to get tough. I tell my son that with the military when he decided that he wanted to join. My mama heart didn't want him to because I know I
mhm,
dealt with my husband. But like I told him, I said just keep a smile on your face and keep it going. It will get you through. Same with my daughter with college. You just keep smiling. You never know. Your bad day can trickle off to someone else. Then it's all a snowball effect. But if you're smiling, even if you're having a bad day, you can make the next person smile. And some, like I said, earlier, greeting someone or smiling or just saying hi to someone, you never know, what that does to a lot of people. A lot of people
right.
won't show it, but you
Yeah,
walk up with a smile and hi, how you doing? That'll make someone's day. And sometimes that's all someone needs,
absolutely.
is
It
a
makes a
hi
difference.
or a smile.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like you say, you never know what they're dealing with.
Yeah,
So
you never know what they're
you can
dealing
pick
with.
them up and help them. I know
Yeah.
you do that for my team. And here's
Yeah.
my accountant, Danny Lynn Dennis, who doubles as the producer of our show. She says in her comment that Martha makes it so easy to love her. She definitely has a way of drawing people in.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
well
you.
said, Daddy. You're right. You're right
Thank
about
you,
that.
Danny.
Well, speaking of bringing joy to lives and making
Yeah.
people smile, let's talk about something that I feel like is sure to make a true Ponchatoula person smile, and that is
Yeah.
the Strawberry Festival, which is just around the corner. And of course, your Kiwanis Club, my Rotary Club, the JCs, and a few others were kind of like the founding fathers and mothers of the
Yes.
Strawberry Festival. They got the thing going. They remain highly involved, and your club does something that's really big and popular, and that is the posters. So I am
Yes.
told that you have actually brought a strawberry festival
I
book. Would you mind sharing that
did.
with us?
Yes,
Oh,
so
look at
this
that.
is the
Beautiful.
poster. This is on wood, but you can get it as a poster, you can get it on a canvas, and it looks so wonderful on
Mhm.
here. And I really love this
Beautiful.
painting. I had a chance to meet the artist. I didn't get to really know her, but she's born and raised here in Ponchatoula, Miss Emily Bourne. That's who won the 2024 Strawberry Poster. And she is so sweet. We actually have an interview tomorrow with WGNO that we're going to do. So I'll get to learn a little bit more
Yeah,
history about her.
that's
Um,
exciting.
but
A
I
local
love it,
woman.
yes. And that's what I love. And a lot of people get it mixed up because they're like, oh, y'all pick just the local people. We really don't. When they submit their pictures, the names are behind them. We
Right.
don't, they tell them don't put them on the front. So we don't know who it is. We
Yeah.
judge on it, me and a couple of members in the Strawberry Board, and we get together and we vote. And I do love the fact that it is someone out of Ponchatoula who was born and raised here in
That's cool.
Ponchatoula.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But I would love to see out of state people also,
Mhm.
because the Strawberry Fest do bring in a lot of people from
Yeah,
all over and from all
people come
walks of
from all
life.
over. I know my brother through the police department. It's such a policing challenge to take a
Hmm.
city that has 7,000, residents in the city limits and bring whatever it might be, a quarter million
Right.
people or whatever into the city. They have to spend the whole year managing relationships with
Yes.
officers from all over the state and
Hmm.
beyond to get the extra forces they need. And so they
Right.
volunteer 11, 12 months ahead of time at other festivals to
Right.
kind of get some reciprocity going and
Right.
create that goodwill and maintain it. Martha, you have been so generous with your time, with your advice,
Oh,
sharing your
anytime.
story. I'm just loving it.
Thank
Before
you.
we go,
Look, we could keep going. I'm pleased.
I know I promised to get you back to your kids, but now I'm getting the sense maybe they can deal with their own stuff and you can
Yeah, they got
give
that.
it a
They got
break
that.
compared to 5 kids. But
Yes,
let me
sir.
ask you this, with regards to the different things you have going. How is it you maintain balance is a word some people use, however you view it, professional life, personal life, you know, life as someone who's a giver, a community
Hmm.
leader, a community servant. How do you keep all these balls up in the air without dropping them? Because it seems to me like it's kind of this flawless execution. I don't know if you're like the duck that looks like or swan that looks like it's the feet are below the surface. But what advice might you give to someone who kind of wants to do it all,
Yeah.
but can't really succeed with raising 5 kids and a successful career plus giving to the community? How do you do it?
I float. I'm not gonna lie to you. I float. It's my day starts at 6:30 in the morning. It's getting really the little one ready. My older two, they are able to get themselves together. So I get my little one, and then once she gets on the bus, it's to work. And then, on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, I have our meeting and things like that at the Kiwanis Club. But really, I float and keep smiling, to be honest with you. I don't know how I do it because everybody asks me. I can't really say. I just do it. But it's the motivation. I know that me wanting to be out here in the community, wanting to, get to know a lot of things and people. I just I just put my head out there and I do it. I'm like one or two things gonna work. I'm gonna float, keep going, or I'm gonna start sinking, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to get back up and start swimming. But to be honest with you, Parker, I float. I just let it go, just let it ride.
Well, whatever you're doing, it's working. I admire you,
Thank you.
and I'm so grateful that you and that you met that man who is from here, and he brought you here and
Yes.
your family.
Me too.
We're all better for you being here and raising your
Thank
family
you.
here.
Thank you.
Before we go, is there anything else on your mind, on your heart, anything else you'd like to share with our listeners and our viewers before we say goodbye for the week?
I just tell everyone, keep pushing, regardless of what you're going through. Thank the man up above for getting you up every morning. And you say your prayers every morning, every night before you go to bed, and let the stress go. Um, you can't stress about a lot of things. You just keep pushing. That's hard. It's easy to say and hard to do. And I know, I get it. I promise you, I understand. But the best thing for you to do is keep smiling. You won't get anywhere without smiling. Smile, just smile, smile, smile. I know, it's the little things, but you keep smiling and keep the stress away. And I think that works wonders. I think that's a good thing.
Great, great advice. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that.
Oh,
And thanks for
anytime.
just you being you. Folks, I
Thank you.
told y'all at the top of the interview that this was an uplifting person. She has
Yes.
lived up to the hype.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you for having me. I
oh,
really appreciated this.
and you know, I've been working to get you on the show, and we had to
I
reschedule.
know. Yeah, we had to
Unfortunate
reschedule and
event. I'm
everything.
so glad you made it here today.
Thank you. I
And what I love about
appreciate
this
it.
show is your interview will kind of live on in eternity. It's here on
Okay.
Facebook. We have now well over 100 interviews here on the show, and we're also working to get them uploaded to Spotify, I think it's called.
Okay.
So the audio version will be out there. And anyway, I'm so excited we got to share your story with the people of Ponchatoula
I'm
because
excited to be here.
it's a compelling story and you're full of wisdom. So thank you first and foremost for
Oh,
sharing
you're
your time.
welcome.
To our viewers, thanks for sticking with us. We will be back next week. Y'all take
Yes.
care.
Have a good one.